Can we call one more witness, or is it lengthy? Okay, we'll call your next witness and we'll take a break thereafter.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. State the next call, Jack Brown.
All right, so members of the jury, we'll do this one witness, and then we'll take about a 25-minute break, and then we'll have some more testimony this afternoon and then finish up for the day. Mr. Brown, good to see you, sir. Just come over here to your right. Watch your step as you come forward. Need a glass of water or something, let us know. We'll do our best to accommodate you. You can adjust the microphone as you deem necessary to project your voice, and if there is an objection made, just pause before you answer the question. Let me rule on the objection. We'll go from there. That said, state your main inquiry. You're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
I'm Jack Brown. I'm the owner-operator of the Chick-fil-A at Southside Boulevard at Tinseltown.
How long have you owned that location of Chick-fil-A?
13 years.
What are your responsibilities as an owner? Are you a franchisee?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
So what are some of your responsibilities as an owner?
I'm responsible for all things to include hiring people, so the whole HR function, operations, marketing, so everything.
Would that include business records?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that also include employment records?
Yes, ma'am.
And are employment records kept in the normal course of business at Chick-fil-A?
Yes, ma'am.
And would those records include date of hire?
Yes, ma'am.
Would they include how much an employee made?
Yes, ma'am.
And if there was a date of separation, would that also be part of the records?
Yes, ma'am.
Would that include check disbursements?
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Brown, I'm going to draw your attention back to 2018. Is that a year that you particularly remember regarding your business there at Tinseltown at Chick-fil-A?
Absolutely. We went through a remodel.
And so did you actually have to close down the Chick-fil-A restaurant during that remodel?
Yes, ma'am.
And when it was time to reopen your business with the remodel, were you looking for new hires?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you put out that Chick-fil-A at that location was hiring?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, did you actually, as the owner, participate in the hiring process at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
Since Chick-fil-A obviously was not open, did you conduct interviews at a different location?
Yes, ma'am. We conducted it at the Starbucks that was just south of our location.
And was one of those potential hirees Ayanna Sawyer?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you actually personally meet, and I'm going to use her initials for now on IS?
Yes, ma'am.
And after the interview, was she hired?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you remember approximately what month of 2018?
She was hired in November 2018.
At some point, though, did you have to make the decision to separate with IS?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
It was in December. I believe it was the 6th of December.
Now, did IS have some outstanding checks available?
Yes, ma'am. She had 2.
Back in 2018, what was the process of an employee to obtain a check?
We would print the checks on Friday and put them in the safe, and they were available for pickup at 2 o'clock after we finished lunch. For the people who got checks, I'm sure there were some people who were on direct deposit, but being a relatively new employee, she would have gotten a check.
And were those check amounts respectively $43.57 and $109.74.
Yes, ma'am.
And during that time frame of 2018 going into January of 2019, did IS ever pick up those 2 checks?
No, ma'am.
In fact, do Chick-fil-A's checks at that time frame, if they are not cashed within 60 days of issuance, do they become void?
I believe that is the case.
Now, at some point, was corporate contacted to reissue those checks?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that in January of 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
And were those checks sent to 7834 India Avenue?
That address sounds correct.
And as part of the business records, did you review who signed off of those checks to be cashed?
I reviewed it recently and had Chick-fil-A corporate send me the endorsed copy of the check.
And did it have part of the signature parent?
Yes, ma'am. It had Ayanna Sawyer on there, and then there was, in parentheses, deceased, and then there was another signature on there that said parent.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, just a couple of questions for you, sir. Thank you for being here.
Yes, ma'am.
You said that December 6th of 2018 was the day that you separated with IS.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so if she had worked up until that date, when would that first check been available? Has it been that next day, that Friday on the 7th?
So she worked with us for 4 days, and she was in the middle of a payroll period. So we pay every 2 weeks on the Friday. So the payroll period ends on a Saturday night. The payroll is done on Monday, and then the checks are issued on Friday. So I don't know the specific date as far as the calendar goes.
No, of course. So if the 6th was a Thursday in the middle of the payroll period, it wouldn't have been available the 7th, which would have been a Friday. It would have been available that following Friday, which would have been the 14th.
Okay.
Is that accurate if that's the dates, if those dates are proper?
Well, I don't want to say that they're accurate without actually looking at the calendar to see when the check was done.
Of course.
But it's 2 weeks after, on the Saturday that it closes, it's 2 weeks from then.
Okay. Even if you don't know the exact dates, and I can understand that, not having a calendar from 2018 in front of you.
Right.
It would have either been the 7th or the 14th because you get paid every 2 weeks.
Right. Get paid every
fair?
2 weeks. Yes, ma'am.
All right. And so that time period for you that she did not pick it up in that time period, either the 7th or the 14th.
Right.
And you said she had worked there only for a few months at that point in time. Do you remember the exact length of time she had worked with you all?
Well, it was 4 days.
I'm sorry, days. I
Yes, ma'am,
apologize.
4 days.
4 whole
Her
days.
start date was the 24th of November, and her end date was the 5th of December. But in that time period, there were only 4 days that she worked.
Understood. And is the reason why there were 2 checks during that time period because there was the first maybe couple of days or day
Right.
on one, sorry, I got to finish the question for the record.
Okay.
On one check period and then the other 3 dates or whatever on the following check period?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so is it possible that that first check would have been available even before that Friday of that week?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't have anything further. Thank you.
Any redirect? Yes, sir, Your Honor. Mr. Brown, good to see you, sir. I have a lot of questions about how Chick-fil-A does business, but I'll save that for another day.
Absolutely.
All right, good to see you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, members of the jury, we'll take a break now. It's 3:15. I'll give you guys 25 minutes. We'll come back at 3:40, and then we'll wrap up for our afternoon session. Please remember, don't discuss the case among yourselves or each other. Don't do any independent research. We'll see you guys then soon.